I was watching this episode of Hunter x Hunter, and Gon said this quote. He said, "You can never understand someone until you understand what makes them angry." Now, the context of the quote was Karapika and Leorio were having a little back and forth about their reasonings for becoming a hunter. Karapika wasn't addressing Leorio by his actual name, so they were just having some tension between the two, and they were both trying to fight. And then as the fight was trying to be stopped, Gon then says the quote. And I just think it was important because you truly can't understand someone until you understand what makes them angry, because it shows you exactly where their values are. If I get angry over something, then it's obviously something that's important to me. Any insult, maybe you say something about my dream, maybe say something about somebody who I really care about, so it just becomes this big back and forth, this big interior battle when I do get angry. And then when you finally understand someone's anger, you can kind of get a good grasp of who they are. So Gon he has a pretty good eye for being able to read people and doing it without judgment. And I think we can learn a lot from him and this quote in itself. A lot of people, I feel like right now, truly don't value understanding others. The EQ of the world right now, I don't think is that high. We need to get to a point where we are able to understand other people and put ourselves in each other's shoes. Later on in the series, I'm not done with Hunter x Hunter, but later on we find out someone like Leorio. At first, his reason for becoming a hunter sounded very superficial, right? Just money. But then you come to find out that it's more than the money. It's about him getting enough money to become a doctor, to pay for his medical school so that he can save lives because he lost someone close to him. So the show actually does a good job in itself because we get to see a superficial version of somebody we don't understand. And then when we pry a little bit deeper, we get more understanding of that person. Same thing with Karapika. He is more about his clan, more about, dealing with the Scarlet Eyes and whatnot. But he chose to keep it to himself because he didn't want to reveal, you know, his true meaning behind becoming a hunter, as it was personal to him. So when we get a deeper dive of people, when we understand where they're coming from and able to put ourselves in their shoes, then we can actually empathize with them. We can actually become closer to them because we will truly get to actually understand these people that we love and care about. And it's hilarious to me how in this show, these wise words of wisdom are coming from a 12-year-old, right? The 12-year-old is the one that is able to not judge people, the one that has the emotional intelligence to just look out for his friends and not judge books by his cover, especially with two people that he just met. I think in my own personal experiences, I've just dealt with a lot of people who it's very difficult for them to understand others and where they're coming from. If I tell someone a story about somebody else, it's always met with something like, oh, that reasoning is dumb, or I just don't get it. Like, who would think like that? And I'm always just a bit advocate of, it might be dumb from your lens, but what about when you put yourself in that position? Put yourself in that situation where you only had their choices and their options and their understanding. And then now it doesn't sound as dumb. But then when you break it down like that, step by step, people then start to say, okay, you know what? maybe I was wrong, and maybe I should understand people a little bit better. And why is that so hard for us to do? I have no idea. It's kind of like a skill maybe that we learn when we're younger. Like maybe, we're supposed to be taught at a young age how to understand people, but a lot of people are just innately selfish or they're just overly logical where they can only see one side and not see the other. But I think if we trend more to saying, okay, let me take myself out of my lens and my ideologies and my understandings and put myself in someone else's shoes and understand the choices that they had to choose from, then we can gain so much more progress with each other. We can gain so much more love and just betterment of community because as humans, we all want to be understood. We all want to be loved and cared for. We don't just want to walk around and have to understand ourselves. It's like, no, we want to be around people who can see things from our perspective, but we also don't want to just be the person understanding everyone, but not getting understood themselves. So let's take this lesson, man. Let's take this lesson from Gon and the show Hunter x Hunter and really apply it. You know, if you really want to get to understand somebody, understand what makes them angry. And not just with anger, understand what makes them sad. Understand what makes them happy and full of joy. Because you'll get closer to that person. You'll become more in tune with that person. And I believe too, we also have to develop more intuition, right? When you have a pet or a child that isn't speaking yet, you have to be attuned to their actions, their emotions, their fluctuations, because they can't directly communicate them to you in a way that you understand with words. But a mother to a son or a mother to a daughter or owner to a pet are able to understand things that are just nonverbal cues. We have to get back to doing that with the people we love. Let's get deeper with people. And it honestly should be easier because we do have words and we do have things we can communicate with. But it's interesting how much harder it is because we don't try to have that understanding anymore. Like me, I have a dog, right? I've been around my dog since he was a puppy. I can tell you exactly when he's hungry, when he's happy, when he's tired, when he's sad, when he's full of energy, when he got the zoomies. And he doesn't say anything to me. It's just certain way he bites, certain way he barks, certain way he moves, certain way he sleeps, you know? And it's just because I just pay attention to the details of how he moves because I love him. Now, if you guys really want to show love, pay attention to people, become attuned to them, and then it just becomes a mirror and they might attune to you back. So, again, let's learn from this, really understand each other, and be like Gon, be like the 12-year-old who has a lot of wisdom for his young years. So, Wonder Tribe, thank you for tuning in to another video, and I will see you guys soon.